Either we heal as a team, or we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen, believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. And I know if I'm going to have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. There's 6 inches in front of your face. Now I can't make you do it. You got to look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now I think you're going to see a guy who will go that inch with you. You're going to see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're going to do the same for him. That's the team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals.
Ideas are bulletproof.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. It is October 12th, 2011, and this is Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye, from FederalJack.com. Welcome. Today, I'm joined by 2 local activists, one of them who happens to be a friend of Federal Jack and a founding member. Well, he goes back to the original days, back in like 2006. And the other one is a local activist. His name's Alex, and he has created a Facebook group spin-off of the Occupy movement called Mobilize Miami. And his goal is to just get out on the street and, get the truth out and try to wake people up to what's going on with the Federal Reserve, New World Order and stuff. And he's been running into a few speed bumps. And on tonight's show, besides talking to those 2, we're going to discuss, I guess you could say, the local Miami protest scene right now. And we're going to cover Occupy Miami. Now, I have to cover this because I would be remiss not to, considering all the local media in the past 2 or 3 days have been all over this. And I've been biting my tongue. I've been working on an article, but I've been biting my tongue to give it a few days. As I say to my listeners all the time, you guys know that I like to, rather than jump to conclusions, I like to make sure I know what I'm talking about, and I like to take a few steps back. I was contacted by Occupy Miami about my Sunday show, asking me about who who I thought the undercover cop was. I haven't emailed them back yet because that's very impersonal. I would rather just tell them I'll be down there on Sunday, so I could give them an idea of who I think it is. But I don't know the person's name, nor do I know 100% if they are. But there are certain people that are acting like cops. At least on Saturday there were. Some of them were new. And then there are other people that aren't, are probably, I wouldn't say that they were comps, but I would say that they were, their agenda isn't the greatest agenda. And I know some people that are, I guess you could say, self-appointed spokespeople / organizers. And Winston, who's on with me tonight, Winston knows some of these people, and he knows their background history, and it's never he's not an agent or anything like that. That's the kind of talk that makes people think you're crazy. Okay, it's not like that. But he has this. He's a hardcore leftist, I guess, and they have a history of taking over movements like this and kind of making them come to a bureaucratic halt, if you will, which is exactly what has happened with this movement. And there are people I know in the outlying areas that are pretty pissed off about what's going on. If you go to their Facebook page, everybody's asking, why is there no occupation on the 15th? What's going on? And as I said at my Sunday show, it was conveniently brought up at the last minute after 6 hours of everybody standing on their feet when everybody wanted to go home, that they're just not ready to have an Occupy movement yet. And to me, it just sounded like they were pushing it back to drag it on and on and on. And apparently, it comes out in an interview with one of the people that's a quote-unquote organizer that she's going on vacation. And she's not going to be back until the 23rd. So I guess she didn't want it to interrupt her vacation. So there's just a few things that are kind of shady. And I'm not picking on anybody in particular. Again, I'm not picking on anybody in the movement itself that wants to show up and protest. I'm actually doing this for them because there's a lot of pissed off people that aren't getting their voices heard, and they feel like this is, people are dragging their feet, and it's gone beyond, well, we're doing it for a good reason. Now, it's getting to a point where it's almost like, are you guys doing it on purpose to kind of co-opt it? So we're going to discuss that tonight. And I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but these are questions that need to be asked and need to be put out there. If they're not, if the situation isn't as maybe I assume it to be, and I don't like to use the word assume, as I said, assumption is the mother of all f-ups. We'll say as I perceive it to be, okay, then, and you can provide me evidence to the contrary, I'm all for it, okay? But from what I see, this is Occupy Miami as a whole is being co-opted and being ground to a bureaucratic halt. And my two guests tonight will be able to talk about that as well. So let me introduce both of them and bring them on. Winston, say hello. The listeners know you very well. You've been on my show before.
Hello, everyone.
And Alex, say hello.
Hello.
All right. Now, I want to start with you, Alex. I want to ask you this. You started your own group because you are not, you're not like... You came to me and said, "Look, man, can you bring some light onto this?" I started Mobilize Miami, and I just pretty much Mobilize Miami was kind of brought about because you heard, I guess, everybody bitching and moaning that nothing was being done, and you yourself were frustrated. So you just kind of created a group where people could go that are actually going to go protest, and not show up to just do meetings and stuff. What has been the reaction from the organizers of Occupy Miami? What has been? Have they been receptive and said, "Hey, let's all work together," or has it been nasty?
Well, thanks for having me on, first of all, and second of all, yeah, it's been very nasty. They've all attacked me on all the pages. They've banned me. It's just been crazy. I mean, for a movement that's so inclusive of everybody's voice and opinions, and that's what they put out there, it's been very censoring. I mean, at least as far as my personal experience is concerned. I'll post a link. Before, when I wasn't banned, I would post a link and someone would come and discredit it. And then when I'd answer back and debate back, I was instantly called a troll. Funny enough, I was called a troll by some of the people that were actually at the secret meeting that they were just streaming right now. They were all in there. The skinhead, the wannabe skinhead, the Groucho Marx dude, the short-haired girl, the bandana guy. They were all there. The same people that were trying to stifle. It's just a page with 34 people, and I don't understand. They have 8,000 people, and I only had 34 at them, and I had 63. What's the big deal? Why can't I, go off on my own and say, look, there is a contingent, so to speak, of people that want to occupy, that understand that we need to get out there and have our voices heard in Miami. And what's wrong with me making a page and just, you know, putting my finger on the pulse of the street? And
I agree. And first of all, if this is a leaderless movement, then nobody should be bitched at or anything nasty said to them. And it's not just you, and it's not just the organizers either. There are some people that are into the you know, they're awake. Or I won't say awake. Let me rephrase that. They're angry. They know something's up. Okay, but if somebody posts, like somebody asked a Ron Paul question on the page and said, "Is anybody a Ron Paul supporter here?" And some woman went off on some dumb tangent about how Ron Paul is responsible for everything that's going on and it's all his fault and everything else. It's just ridiculous. They're ignorant to reality. Hang out. We're going to break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned, guys. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Hanging out with me is Winston and Alex. Now, Alex, again, I'm not slamming. I'm not. I didn't have you guys on. I'm not. I don't want anybody thinking I had you guys on to either slam you guys or slam anybody, you know, involved with Occupy Miami. I'm not trying to slam anybody, but I want people to understand that there's certain people that, and they'll know who they are, that are, I guess you could say, Maoist, and which is like, you know, hardcore left. And that's, you shouldn't be, you know, subjecting the people that are coming out for a true, you know, reason to that kind of crap. That's just as bad as if I was spewing some hardcore right-wing crap, you know, and saying that, you know, Jesus wants, you know, everybody, or, you know, God hates everybody, and, you know, if you don't breathe in the right direction, you know, he'll come burn you, like those morons, the ones that protest soldiers' funerals. Okay, that's the opposite antithesis of like the hardcore left. You have the hardcore moronic right like that. Okay, and you have this. I wouldn't want either of those groups giving out information, because they're not going to be talking about the Constitution. They're going to be talking about what they would like, which is a democracy, which is what everybody at these events keeps talking about. And my problem with this, with the whole Occupy movement as a whole, is this, that a lot of people don't know what they're talking about. And they're going out there and they're trying to, you know, we believe in democracy. You know, this is democracy in action. As I said on the Bob Tuskin show the other day, when Bob and I were talking about this, the chant I cannot stand is, this is what democracy looks like. You know what? You're right. Democracy is Latin, okay? It means mob rule. So when you break it down and you look at it from that viewpoint, yeah, you're right. That's what a democracy looks like. A bunch of morons walking around in the street, not knowing what you're talking about. If you're going to walk around in the street and protest, know what you're talking about, because people are going to pay attention to you. Don't waste this. This is the time to, you know, get out there and show people the truth. Get out there and get, you know, talk about the Federal Reserve. Talk about the real power structure of what's going on. Not, oh, it's some corporate people on Wall Street. You know, if we had total anarchy or socialism. No, moron. Okay? That's what you see. And yeah, those aren't all the people. But there's this large contingent of some of these Occupy movements that are being co-opted by people like that. Okay, or these hardcore groups like the what do you call it? The union groups and the Acorn and all the rest of them. Okay, JJ gave a report. He was at Occupy Syracuse, and what happened? A girl had a Ron Paul sign and she got attacked. That is not the kind of crap we need, okay? And I'm not saying that's what's going on here at Occupy Miami. This is what I have my whole a problem with the whole Occupy movement as a whole. Now, for down here in Miami, what's really mostly slowed it down is this: they've created this bureaucratic structure to try to prevent problems that they've seen happen in Occupy Wall Street. But the problem is Occupy Wall Street occupied first and then created the bureaucratic structure. These guys are creating the bureaucratic structure and arguing over procedure and everything else before they even have the you know, any Occupy going on, any occupation. There is no Occupy. I don't know why they call it Occupy Miami. I understand you're trying to get on the bandwagon with everybody, but if you're not going to occupy, you shouldn't do that. because you're pissing off a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are getting dejected and walking away, and that's what's making me angry. Because for years we've tried to wake people up and protest out here, and I remember we couldn't get 15 people out to a protest. You guys get 200 people out to a protest, and you're pissing them off because it's not a protest. And giving them a 2-hour protest isn't good enough. There are people that want it. First of all, a 2-hour protest is weak. Okay, if you're going to protest, you need to protest for like 4 or 5 hours at a minimum. A 2-hour protest is a joke. And you're making the Occupy movement look bad. You have all these local news agencies writing articles about Occupy Miami. You got Luther writing in New Times saying, "Oh, where's Occupy Miami? Where's the movement? We come on." I don't want to hear, "Oh, it's because we don't have somebody was quoted as saying there's not a big political history here in Miami." That's a lie. You don't even know what you're talking about then. Don't be talking about things you don't know. Don't walk around saying we live in a democracy. We don't. We live in a constitutional republic. That's the biggest problem I see with people. They don't even know what form of government we have. You should not be educating anyone on their rights if you do not know what your rights are. You don't know what form of government we have. Okay? Don't walk around telling people we live in a democracy. We don't. The founding fathers would have puked if they heard you say that. We live in a constitutional republic where everybody gets a say, not 51% telling the other 49 what they got to do. And I'm getting agitated because there are good people that are coming out and they're not getting their voices heard. And then I'm finding out that there's little secret meetings popping up, during the week with just certain people. Well, if it's a leaderless movement, then why are there these little meetings popping up? Well, apparently it was put on live stream, but I don't care if it's put on live stream. To quote a lady that was at the protest the other day, I can't go on the forums. She couldn't get on I guess all she had was email. And so, she was notified by email, which you can access via your phone. And she said there were other people there that were like that. They didn't want to go on the forums, try to figure out a way to get onto the forums and everything else to ask questions. That's why they would come to these General Assembly meetings. And you know what? They were brushed off because everybody wanted to go home because the people had been standing around for 6 hours. Okay? And that's when the most important stuff was brought up, was at the last 10, 15 minutes. And they rushed everything through. And you know what? That's a tactic. That's a freaking tactic. You make people stand around for 6 or 7 hours. They get uncomfortable. They want to get the hell out of there. They want to go home. They want to get comfortable. They're willing. Now their will has been broken and they don't even realize it. And they make dumb decisions because they want to go home. And there were people that didn't get their voices out there. I look on the Facebook page every day and there's people bitching and moaning that nothing is going on. And then the biggest thing is they ask questions and nobody answers their questions. I look at it, nobody answers their questions, and I've seen people's stuff get removed. So I have a problem when you're censoring people and this and that. That I have a problem with, because that's not cool. That means now that you have an agenda, and if you don't like what someone else says, that's not cool. Okay? Totally not cool. This is supposed to be an open, organic movement where everybody has a say in this. This is supposed to be where you can sit down and have conversation. We should learn. You should try. For better or for worse, people should, if you want to have organizational structure, we should learn from Wall Street. Okay? They occupied first and then built their structure. Here, we're doing it in reverse, and that's actually slowing the process down, and ultimately it's driving people away, which is killing me. It's absolutely killing me. Okay? Because we used to try our hardest to get 15, 20 people out to a protest. And Winston, he can remember. He's been protesting with me since like 2006, okay? And we would work our asses off to get 15, 20 people to show up. You guys have 200 people showing up. You owe the citizens something more. If you want to try to be organizers or leaders, then you need to stop dragging your feet, having these little secret meetings, banning people and stuff. That's shady stuff. That means something's going on that you don't want everybody else to know. Stop trying to control what people say about you. I took part in some of the media meetings. I sat and listened. Well, we have to kind of control what they say about us. You can't control what anybody says about you. How about you just go out there with your message, and then if they try to twist it, you show proof that that's not true. It's not hard to show up the mainstream media, guys. I could give a class on it in 5 minutes. They're losers. Chris Matthews' website is like 100, and I did a video on it. At the time, it was like 150,000 in the U.S., and I was at 40-something thousand. on Alexa ratings. No one pays attention to those douchebags. Screw them. Just go out there and get your message heard. And you know what? The longer this drags on, the longer law enforcement can infiltrate it and put agent provocateurs in the crowd like that were there on Saturday at the second General Assembly meeting. If you guys listen to my, I'll bring it up again when we come back on the other side of this break. I'll reiterate it again. I'll bring it back up even though I don't like to repeat myself. I'll bring it up again and I'll tell you who was there. We'll be right back. We are back, guys. Welcome back. I'm hanging out with Alex and Winston Smith. And Alex, I don't know if you noticed in my chat room, but I've created a hornet's nest. I'm being told that I wasn't at either Occupy Miami meeting. I guess all that video footage I have. Yeah, I guess all that video footage I have much just came out of nowhere. Anyway, the point is, guys, okay, there are people that you're not paying attention to that are getting angry because they want to occupy in the 15th. You should pay attention to your Facebook page. Instead of coming here and bitching at me, I'm pointing stuff out to you guys, trying to show you something. There's a problem. People are getting dejected with the Occupy movement down here. We have the local media writing articles that are pretty much, I don't know if you guys read them, but they're pointing out all the mistakes, and they're kind of making fun of it. So, for people that sat with me in a meeting and said that they didn't want the media to make fun of us, any local activists down here now are going to get lumped in with this, and people are getting pissed. Pay attention to your Facebook page. Go to your Facebook page and look at it. People are saying, "I'm going to occupy. I don't care. Screw them. Whatever. Blah 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 blah." That we don't
need to say that.
Well, yeah, but you know what? We don't need to have that kind of. Why does there need to be this divide already? Look at the old guy. Look at the old guy that walked off. He stormed off, and first people were like, "Well, maybe he was an agent." No,
a corporate agent.
Yeah, they say, and the term is not. Look, you guys have to understand some of the terminology, please, so you can understand who you're up against. Okay, this is not a joke. The people that we're fighting are not some corporate putzes on Wall Street. These people are real evil, and we have to know what we're up against. Okay, this is not a joke. This is really important, and there are mad as hell people that want to get out in the streets. And if we, who knows how long this Occupy movement's going to have steam? Remember, now that Bloomberg gave them the ultimate time to hang out there, you watch. What the mainstream media is going to do is they're going to stop covering it. Okay, and once they stop covering it, there goes most of the steam in the movement, as much as nobody wants to admit it. Because right now, the mainstream media makes it a story by ignoring it and by saying, la, 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 they don't exist, la, la, la. Okay, they make it an even bigger story, and they bring it to the attention, that brings it to the attention of people that might not have seen it and might not pay attention. And we need to take advantage of this short time frame. And it's not being done, and people are getting dejected and leaving. So if you get mad at me for pointing that out, well, then you can get mad at me all you want. But you should look in the mirror and listen to what people are saying on your own Facebook page. There are people questioning why nobody answers them back, okay?
And having secret meetings. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, yeah, there are people that have brought up the secret meeting. I didn't know that there was some sort of meeting or whatever tonight. I found that out right after, as I did my show, a couple minutes beforehand. But there is some sort of whoever. I don't care if you live stream it or not. There's people that can't get on. There's people that can't get onto a computer. Or if they can, it's from their cell phone, and they ask on Facebook, "Hey, I can't get in the chat. How can I ask questions or how can I bring up my point?" And their voices aren't getting heard, and that's not fair.
Can I say something?
Well, yeah, go ahead.
There was actually a guy there that was I was listening to the meeting, and he expressed that he had been there since the beginning and had been very, dedicated to the movement. And they were talking about having meetings early on in the day. He's like, but what if I can't get there and I've already, invested all this time? And to the response he got was, well, I hate to be an asshole, but this is a participatory movement. So if you're not here, oh, well, I mean, it's like, so then who really is there all the time?
Well, see, that's the problem. You don't want to get people pissed. You don't want to get them so where they don't want to come out. Because I think it's awesome that there was such a large, diverse group of people from one side of the spectrum to the other, and that's what I'm worried about, because I'm seeing I'm standing here watching stuff, and I'm watching two things happen. One, I'm watching this movement get infiltrated. Okay, I'm watching the fact that the longer you hold on to these, you drag out these meetings and everything else, the easier it makes for somebody to come in and infiltrate the group and do something that they're not supposed to do. Okay. And that's how undercover cops get in. That's how they could get an agent in. That's how they do this. That's how they infiltrate little groups, because they prey on their weaknesses. And right now, our weakness, or I don't want to say our weakness, because I have my own radio show and my own website and everything else. But the weakness right now with the Occupy movement down here is the fact that it's got no steam. There are people that want to come out. They should have picked the space and occupied it a while ago. Okay, the space that they're picking, you guys, I'm not making fun of you, but it's a bad area, because there's so many reasons that the city can come in and remove you from there. Okay, and it would be better to the piece of advice I'll give you on that is it would be better to pick a county spot. Okay, because the county. Alex did his homework, okay, and I there's too much to go into details, but Alex did his homework, and he found out that it's much better with legalities to go, occupy a county space on county property, and that's not getting done. You guys are still pushing, and people did vote for, I guess there was government center or something people voted on, but. It's not being. They
don't want to hear that.
Well, that's the problem. Who's they though? It's supposed to be a leaderless movement.
I mean, I can tell you who they are. I mean, I don't know their names.
I know what you mean. I know that. I'm not asking you who. I don't mean that. But I mean, why is it like that? I thought this was supposed to be a leaderless movement. Again, that kind of action is going to piss off people that are like, and I know it. Look, I was there Saturday. I walked around and I was interviewing everybody, and I talked to people, and I asked pros and cons, how they felt about the movement, and everything else. And there was a lot of people that were mad because they showed up to protest and there was getting nothing done. And by the end of the 6-7 hours, people were storming off. And I don't want to hear, well, sucks for them, whatever, too bad. Well, that's not really a good attitude then, is it? That's
their overall attitude, yeah.
But that's not a cool attitude then. And I don't care who you think you are. I don't care, being internet tough guys and stuff like that is one thing, okay? But seriously, there is no need for that crap. Mm-hmm. We're supposed to all be on the same side. So why is there this infighting? Why is someone going on there asking a question if anyone, all he asked was, is there anybody here that likes Ron Paul? And he got jumped on by people that don't know what they're talking about. He wants to deregulate the Federal Reserve. Lady, they're not even a federal agency. That's a problem. You're not even, I'll say your constituency, people need to be educated. Right now, you guys, as activists, you wanted to take the mantle. Well, you guys have this responsibility now to give the truth out. Not your version, not if you have an agenda or not all of you, but say one or two of you might have an agenda or whatever here or there. You guys have to put the truth out. I know there are people involved that know about the Federal Reserve. I've talked to them. These guys aren't stupid. There are very smart individuals in there. So there's no reason for them to be talking democracy and all this other crap.
Capitalism.
Well, we need to stop that. Blaming red herrings is not going to solve it at all. Blaming a red herring problem is not going to solve it. And it's just going to cause us even more problems. People need to know who the enemy is, okay? And this infighting, well, screw you, or if you can't make it out, the attitude crap has to go. That's not cool either.
And that was told to someone that came out and actually gave a damn enough to go plan on a day that it wasn't even advertised to anybody. And then they said, well, if you were on a list, what I see is this movement just being comprised, at least in Miami, being comprised of a lot of lists, a lot of email lists, a lot of closed backdoor meetings. You can stream it, but the populace, the 7,000 people did not know. And then they started planning the next meeting based around everybody else's individual schedules. Oh, I can't make it this too far south, or I can't do this. I mean, in my personal opinion, it might not be a PC opinion, but it's a bunch of BS.
Well, there's got to be some way that everybody can get along and just work as a one. It's not like you're all one large group. It's pretty much, if you want to show up. I mean, there is no leader of the group. There is no, it's supposed to be a leaderless group, so you can just show up and protest. One thing I didn't like, and I'm glad that I'll give them credit, they did lift the ban, and I'll give them credit for doing that, but it's kind of creepy that they had the idea to begin with was to control what people said to the media. They only wanted certain people to be allowed to talk to the media. Well, that's kind of playing into the exact same thing that we're trying to break out of. So you can't. How are you going to win anything if you're using the same tactics? That's where people come in and say, well, maybe they're being co-opted. Now, if they're not being co-opted, if it's just people with a bad idea, the WSVN. They called me. I know some of I have media contacts. I called them the day before and I said, hey, you guys need to go down there because tomorrow they're having a massive protest, because they're having a big meeting or whatever. There's going to be people down there protesting with signs. We're going to be giving away DVDs. Go down and, get people showing up. There's going to be, I'm sure, 100 or so people. Well, WSVN, the videographer got there way before I ever did, okay? And when he got there, he got shooed away. But the weekend before, it was okay to do. A certain individual was more than ready and willing to run up to the CBS news reporter and be the spokesperson. See, that's shady.
We should get into that individual.
Welcome back, guys. My chat room's all fired up. And I think it's kind of funny. Somebody that claims to be from Occupy Miami said that they said that they claimed I said something, and I said I didn't say it. It was one of my guests. See, I'm a radio show host, okay, and I have 2 guests on. I'm glad you could, keep up. All right. And when I said it's a guest, they said, well, you shouldn't guess anything. I guess that means the rest of your show is all about guesses too. Let me explain something. In the English language, the term guest means someone who comes on your show who is not regularly on the program. Thank you for listening. Okay? That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. You guys expect people to take you seriously with stuff like that. Knock it off. Okay? I'm not bashing you. I'm trying to point out what's going on. You guys should go check your own Facebook. I've told you 100 times. There's people in here listening that are locals that are agreeing with me. So if you don't like it, it's not me, it's what's going on. Winston, what's your take on what's going on? Because you know some background information on some stuff. What's your whole take on this?
Hello?
Winston, you there?
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
But basically, when you look at who's the people that are kind of deeming themselves the leadership of this movement, they do have a bit of history within the South Florida activism scene, and they're leaning, for the most part, their leanings are very, very far left. A lot of them were involved with the SEIU protests back a few years ago when with the janitors at the University of Miami and also at I believe at FIU to increase wages for their for janitors union there through the SEIU, and there's also I believe a few of them were also involved with the Answer Coalition, which was an anti-Iraq war activist group, which was pretty much the predominant nationwide anti-war group. But it was also tacked on. The Answer stood for Act Now to Stop War and End Racism. So in addition to stopping the Iraqi war, if you were involved in this group, they would tack on things such as illegal immigration issues, where they would support amnesty for all illegal immigrants, and if you weren't for that, you were considered a racist. And a lot of their placards were things with Che Guevara symbols and a lot of very far left leaning things. Most of it, they're sort of Maoist or Trotskyite, you could say, and a lot of them really served to alienate the majority of the Miami community down here who have fled Hispanic regimes that had that type of government, and they're proposing skewed alternatives or elements of it. And what's most dangerous is they're pushing a version of globalization. It's as if they're teaching globalism in these international relations courses like it's just the next logical step in government. It's either going to be a right-wing globalist government or a left-wing global government, and for all intents and purposes, it's all the New World Order. It's just which one are you going to choose? The one that's for the rich, the wealthy, the ones that those Wall Street bankers, or the globalization version of for the people, where everyone is one. And it's that same type of ideology that goes back way far to all the to all this type of stuff, and you see it being implemented within these activist groups here. And for the most part, a lot of them are just well-meaning college dupes who have been fed a load of crap from the universities, which are founded by the Council on Foreign Relations, and their political ideologies have been molded in this way where there really is no way out of the left-right paradigm. And it reflects when they try to organize, things go into complete stalemate, like we've seen with the Occupy Miami group.
So, let me ask you this. What would... Because, again, we have another hour coming up, but I'm all about solutions as well as I'm all about pointing out problems, which I always do. We offer as many solutions as we do. So, is there any hope of trying to, wake... maybe get some of that university programming out of their heads, because there is a lot of people down here that were saying, we're a democracy. And again, when I tried to, there were a lot of people that understood it, and then there were a lot of people that they looked at me like I had six heads when I would talk about it. And that's the educational system. I know that's not. See, I understand what's going on. I understand that that's through the educational system. I understand that there's a bigger dumbing down.
There definitely is hope, because the fact that they're showing up to these events shows that they're interested, and that they're that they want to get active, they want to get involved, they want more than they are. They want to be. So
how would you approach it? How would you approach it, Winston, to get people to try to bridge this gap? Because right now, look, what concerned me, the reason I did this show was because Alex brought it to my attention that he was getting pretty much he was catching flack. Because he had started Mobilize Miami, I guess, a Facebook page, and he was catching flack. And he brought it to my attention and said, hey, you should just look at this. And I had other people say, hey, I've been on the Facebook page. Do you know anything? Because I had commented on a few things. So people went back to my page or whatever. How can we bridge this gap? How can we get Alex and them together again? How can we get everybody on the same page so we all working for the same goal?
I was never a part of them.
I understand it, but let me rephrase it. How can we get everybody working together instead of, because the important point is to point out, there are certain people people should not listen to, whatever, for whatever reason maybe, or you should be at least suspect of certain people. And if the treatment of certain people by other people is horrible and mean and nasty, well, then there's got to be a reason for it or whatever. My point is, can we get past all this crap, this child, oh, you're lying, that's not true, all that other crap? Because, look, first of all, no one's lying on this show, okay? Again, I got email. The only reason why I even brought this up today was because the local people, I offered to do a call-in show, and I said you had to email me, and some people were kind of shy about coming on, but they emailed me about what they wanted to talk about. And Winston and Alex both agreed to come on. So it's important that, look, we have to air dirty laundry, get it out in the open, deal with it, and get it over and done with, okay? Otherwise, the problem is going to fester, because there's a lot of people that are upset about things that are going on. Now, if it's not true, then at least it is true, because from what I've seen, what I talked about tonight and what these two talked about tonight so far has been true. Okay, I've seen it, and it's. I think it's kind of what bothered me again was how quick everybody jumped on each other. Let me ask you this, Winston. We have a couple minutes left before we go to our top of the hour break, but what do you foresee, any way? Because you've dealt with some of. As you were talking about earlier, some of the background about some of these, some people that were involved in other groups back in the day. Is there a way that everybody can work together towards the same goal, or do you think it's going to be continued this division like you see here? Well, like you see starting here, and like you see prevalent at many other Occupy events.
Well, since these movements are based off just a decentralized kind of anonymous style protest, the best thing to do is to use the momentum that's already there when people are showing up. It's good, but it's good, and take advantage of that and do things like get literature to distribute, CDs and things like that. But most importantly, since these are decentralized and there are so many people from so many different stripes coming, just bring what you think is important. Bring what get active on the topics that that you think are important. And if you disagree with something that someone else is saying, then you don't have to work on a project with them, and just kind of and their idea won't get steam. It was very similar to the way a lot of the anonymous projects used to work on their IRC networks, when an idea wouldn't get steam until there was just a consensus behind it. And so basically what people need to do is just ignore the gatekeepers, as they are, who try to get people to trying to steer the crowds off the streets and into rooms. And when you're sitting around in a room just having a meeting of nonsense, you're not out there actually being active. So
I'm sitting around Starbucks. Sorry.
The best advice is to just ignore those gatekeepers, ignore whatever ideas they're having, because they're obviously not productive, and do whatever you honestly think is productive. Do what do what's important to you and what you think is going to make a difference.
Exactly.
Don't wait for handouts from supposed leaders, because people who are going to stand up to be leaders are going to be compromised.
Yeah, don't partake in groupthink. That's why on Sunday show I played a clip of G. Edward Griffin talking about collectivism. Because collectivism is dangerous. People are engaging in groupthink. Look, I want you guys to realize something. When you stop people from clapping because you think it's rude, okay, and you make them wiggle their fingers, that's mind control. That's social engineering. You're teaching them that they're not allowed to clap, okay? And you don't even realize what you're doing. You think you're doing it to be polite with the whole fingers and everything else and hand signals and all the other crap, okay? That's social conditioning. You should go look it up. I mean, you could think I'm crazy, but that's what's going on. That's how this stuff is being infiltrated. Not some government agent wearing a badge coming down. Ha 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 ha. They do it other ways. They do it by literally getting people to believe what they're spouting to other people, and it's not accurate. Sorry. And yes, I hate to tell you guys can say that I'm lying all you want, but there are plenty of dejected, pissed off people. If you think I'm kidding, just go check out your Facebook page. I'm not. Just pointing out a simple fact. Don't get angry at me, okay? Adults don't get angry and throw ad hominem attacks at people. That's not cool. I didn't call anybody names. I didn't say anything to you, so don't say it to me, because you definitely don't want to start with me.
I saw them coming a mile away.
Well, it happens. Sometimes things get collided. Welcome back for hour number 2. This is Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye, from FederalJack.com. All right. So I want to make this clear again. Apparently, I didn't. Maybe I came off. Maybe I didn't come off right, I guess, in the first couple of segments. Like I said, I wasn't attacking anybody. I was trying to bring points up, but some people don't like that. And again, I saw in my chat how right off the bat, oh, you're lying about us, blah, blah, blah. You were never there, this and that. So, yeah, I was, and throwing insults and stuff at me, that's not going to help the argument. That's called ad hominem attacks. Those are logical fallacies. That just shows that you do not have a real argument. I'm not trying to attack you. I'm trying to point out what I observe and what I see and what I've been, again, I got emails from people complaining about they don't know who to talk to because they want to get their voice out, and they heard my Sunday show, so they asked if I was going to do a show on this today or whatnot, and I said yeah, whatever. And then Alex from Mobilize Miami emailed me and contacted me, and he was like, he talked to me and told me what was going on, and I'm trying to point out that this stuff needs to stop, okay? But if you can't face it to begin with, that's not going to solve the problem. We need to stop this crap, okay? The enemy is not some corporate guy in a suit. That's ridiculous. That's a joke. If you know anything about fractional reserve banking and how the banking system works, then you understand who the enemy is. Okay, and you understand what is going on. So and how I know you're not serving the people that are coming to you, because you guys have to hold yourself to, if you're going to be the leaders of an organization, you have to hold yourself to a higher standard. There's people coming to you because they don't know what to do. They have questions, and they see this movement and they say, well, there's other pissed off people. Maybe they know what's up. And they're coming to you and they're getting angry, and they're not going to, what happens if they don't come back out? Now you lost them. Okay, so I'm not trying to pick on you. I'm trying to point out something that I see that's going on. If you don't like me pointing out, well, that's tough titty. Okay, I'm pointing it out. So I'm not trying to be a dick to you guys. I'm trying to actually, I guess you could say, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to point out what's going on. I don't like the fact that you guys are arguing with Alex of Mobilize Miami. I think everybody should be working together, because first of all, anybody can protest anywhere they want. Okay, you guys should have bullhorns. You guys need to get some bullhorns. Don't let anybody tell you can't use a bullhorn. I've protested down here for years with bullhorns. Last time I was down here with the police and the firefighters, protesting with them about their pension cuts and everything else. And I was passing out DVDs to them and stuff, and giving them some truth and giving them some info and interviewing them and talking to them. There were some people that were awake. We were using bullhorns. You can use bullhorns. Bring bullhorns, guys. You guys are going to be on, Biscayne or right on Biscayne there by Bayfront. That's a bad spot because people can't pull over, okay? And a lot of people agreed that that's a bad spot, and that they wanted to go to other places. And there were some places, look, if we can get enough people, we should occupy all over the place. There shouldn't be one set spot, because in Miami, it's kind of cramped anyway. We all know it. And it could, it could rain, weather could break out. Maybe somebody finds a spot that's underneath someplace, like the college. We had the awning. So I don't think anybody should be. I don't think people, if they start another thing, should have their balls busted for it. I guess that's my point of view. I'm not like sticking up for Alex. I'm just saying I don't think it's right that he got his balls busted for. Because him and other people got tired of the bureaucratic mess. And yes, it's a bureaucratic mess, and I'm not the one that came up with it. You guys published an article, okay, by a local blogger from Miami 411. He interviewed people down there. He took video. He wrote the article, okay, and I was quoting him. I didn't come up with that little bit myself. That's another outsider journalist viewpoint, that it's getting bogged down in a bureaucratic nightmare, and it is. You got arguing over procedures before the occupation has even taken place is a bad idea, okay? It's just a bad idea. That's my viewpoint. If you don't have to like it, I mean, attacking me personally and trying to make stupid comments to me or calling me names or whatever in a chat room, that just goes to show you don't have a very strong argument. That's a logical fallacy. I suggest before you try to educate somebody about what they're doing, right or wrong, you guys should go look up logical fallacies and research them for yourself, okay, so you don't commit them and don't make them. I didn't come on air and say anybody was a jerk or anybody was this. I talked, and I didn't name anybody, did I? One of my guests named he said a couple nicknames that he had for people, okay? And a guest, as I said, it's not a guess from me. A guest is someone that comes on my show that is not regularly on. Okay, so that was Alex. That was not me. Okay, so don't. There is no need. Again, that need to hop up and defend yourself right away. I saw that in a few people too, and right from day one. And that's not a good. Why does it have to be like that? Like, what happens if the Ron Paul crowd from Miami? What happens if they show up and they start with Ron Paul signs at your protest on Sunday or on Saturday? What are there going to be? Are there going to be arguments and stuff? Are there going to be fights? I had somebody complain to me when it comes to meetings. There was a huge meeting on Saturday, and then somebody brought up the fact that there was a meeting on, a different meeting on Sunday and stuff. And people would have liked to have known because they wanted to that they couldn't attend on Saturday. They totally would have attended on Sunday. So there's just certain things I'm trying to point out that there's, I've tried to point out before and no one's listening. So, this is my other outlet. You guys don't like it. I'm not picking on you. I'm trying to point out some things that will maybe help the situation, unless you want to drive it into the ground. Okay. And as Winston said, he knows one person, he knows of one person that is involved. Okay. And he knows the background of this person. Okay, and every time this person was involved with one of these organizations, it kind of went the same way. So and we didn't name anybody again. So no need to jump on people and attack people. I'm just stating the obvious. Those aren't lies. Those are truths. Okay, those aren't lies. And I mean, you guys told me I was lying that I wasn't there, and I was there. Once you realized who I was. So I mean, you jump on people, you yell at people. That's not a very friendly attitude. I interviewed people when I left like 15 minutes before everybody walked out. Right at the end of the meeting, everybody kind of still hung around for a few minutes. There were still some people hanging around, but a lot of people were dispersing. And I hung out and I interviewed a few people. And I asked them, and I interviewed them based on their faces and the looks on their faces, I should say, during the meeting that I noticed. And a lot of them were upset. Hence, I talked about a few things on Sunday, and then I got more emails after my show on Sunday, and why I'm talking about it today. Okay, I think everybody needs to work together. If you guys want to be effective, we can make it such a large group. It could break off into different portions. Somebody could go down to City Hall. Somebody could, if they wanted to, and do a group there. You guys could do a group at the Torch, but that area is a bad idea. Alex actually did the research. I told you in the first hour. We were trying to give you guys a bit of advice. Alex did the research already on it. He found out. He called the county.
The county lawyer.
Yeah, and didn't the county lawyer call you? What did he say?
He actually called me back early. I spoke to someone that picked up the phone. I don't know who she was. But the question was very, very basic. Can you point me to a law or statute that prohibits a man or a woman to engage in political speech on county land? And I can't answer that, and no. So, I mean, that right there tells you that, they can't throw it. And then when the guy called me back, he was actually went ahead and told me we uphold the freedom of speech of everybody, the First Amendment, case law, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, like, and plus I've done stuff at Government Center before, so I know. You know what I'm saying?
But you also asked him, because I heard when he called you back, and when he called you back, he said, I was on a conference call with you at the time, and he called you on your cell phone, and I heard in the background, you had it on speaker, and I heard you guys going back and forth, and you asked him about Uniform Commercial Code, and you said to him, can the city police screw with protesters
on county grounds? Well, I know what the question was. Can the city police enforce commercial code on county ground? Meaning, can they come on to the property and tell you get the fuck out of here, Miami City cops? And he said, like, he tried to play stupid, like, what's commercial code? I'm like, a fine. He's like, no. And then I also asked him if then who would be the cops that would show up? He said Miami-Dade. So I said, well, if Miami-Dade cops were to show up to public county land, who would be the complainant?
Alex, I'm going to cut you off because that's all right. The break's going to come and cut you off. We'll continue this in the next segment when we get back.
Cool.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Alex, before we got cut off by the break, because we had to go pay the bills really quick for 3 minutes, you were telling me and the listeners about what you had learned from the county lawyer.
Well, I didn't learn it from him per se. I was just asking.
Well, what he told you, I guess you in a way you did learn it, but I mean, what information he passed to you that you were able to, get out of him.
Well, what I did get out of him was no response, and I can't answer that. So basically, when I asked him if the Metro-Dade police officers show up, who would be the complainant? And he said, well, neighbors. And I said, well, what if you're like in an area that's surrounded by county buildings, courts, and whatnot? He said he couldn't answer, and I go, would the county in that instance be the complainant? And he said he couldn't answer that. Obviously, he's not going to be able to answer that because the county is a corporation. It's a fiction. So it cannot itself. The county cannot, call the police on you. You know what I'm saying? And so I mean, these are answers. These are things that people before they get up there and try and tell people they know where they're going to occupy and this is the best spot. They should really do research because they're actually the ones leading people into getting arrested. You know, it just sounds that way to me. How about you?
I somewhat agree. I hope that, first of all, I hope that the Occupy movement doesn't get hijacked. I think it's, as a whole, it's a really good thing that people are waking up, getting angry, going out and voicing their First Amendment. But I don't think other people, I've seen it, and it's not just, this isn't to pick on. I don't want people to think that Occupy Miami is the only thing with problems. I'm just trying to give the people at Occupy Miami that might be listening a heads up about what some of the people that have been showing up to meetings that are not getting their voices heard elsewhere have said to me when I put out there that I said, if you're not getting heard or if you feel you're getting ignored, email me. I said it on my Sunday show, so I got emails. Okay, I'm just voicing what I was told. So I'm not picking on them in particular because there are the same kind of problems all over different Occupy events. Syracuse, same way. A guy on my network here, fellow radio show host, JJ, he was at Occupy Syracuse. He got into a shoving match because union guys attacked a girl with a Ron Paul sign, literally tried to rip it out of her hands. And then he was blocking them. A female that was with them came running up behind and snatched it out of the girl's hands and ran off with it. So it was that kind of stuff is going on. I don't want to see the discontent that I already see going on lead to that kind of crap down here. Because as I said, it's hard enough to get people out to protest here. So it's if you can get 200 people out, obviously people are pissed off, obviously people are willing to come out and say something. It's to the point where, again, if there's organizers or whatever of these movements, or whoever, the people in these protests have a bigger, if I go out and protest, when I go out and I bullhorn or I give out DVDs and stuff, I have a bigger responsibility to make sure I give out the truth, not some cockamamie BS stuff, but the truth, so that people can take it and they can review it and make an educated, informed decision on their own. Okay, that's what protesting is about. And right now, there's people coming out. Like a perfect example, I'm going to bring up that old guy again at our meeting. There's people coming out and they're getting mad because things aren't getting done. And it's not. Again, there's other places that have even worse problems. I just don't want to see they handle it. It's not being handled. Some things aren't being handled properly. I'm just trying to. Again, I'm not picking on them. I'm trying to point out other things as well. But I think if the problem, things that have been like, I'm giving a voice to the people that didn't have a voice. Okay, so don't get mad at me. This is again from people around here, the locals. If they're upset, maybe there's a way that everything can get coordinated to kind of meet. Again, a lot of people were getting steered by. Now there was one person there. I said that I think was an agent provocateur. And you and I discussed that last week, and I know I discussed it with a few other people. First week. Well, same thing. And it's the guy last week was sitting there trying to tell people we should bring guns and stuff like that. And then I noticed he was the same person. After I went up and I said that we should do shifts, he went up and a couple minutes later and spoke against it. Made a couple. I know he made a couple comments against it. Now that's coming. If that was anybody else, I wouldn't say anything. But judging from the fact that the guy came to the meeting by himself, was one of the last people to leave, left by himself, and the things that he said to multiple people that were there, it was very shady. Okay, that is agent provocateur type attitude. That's the stuff that you guys need to keep an eye out on. Okay, that's the kind of thing, because by him going up and putting out the idea when he said. Because he said I don't remember exactly what it was. Pretty much like there is no point in having shifts if you're going to do an Occupy movement. You have to just go there. Well, the problem with that is there are people that can't be there 24 hours. So the idea of the shift thing was to kind of, that came from listening to everybody saying the kid that was there, he's 17 years old. He's still in high school. They have a curfew. He brought up a good question. We have a curfew. You know, so that their questions aren't being answered. So that's kind of why I'm just Well, what do you think? What if everybody say we all get or you guys, not me, I do my own thing. But let's say you guys will stop. You know, like they'll stop attacking you, and you won't have to attack back or whatever. Everybody gets along, does their protest thing. Say we get this thing big enough, okay, where we could take up multiple spots. What would you suggest, because you've talked to the county lawyer, are there any county properties around here that have, a lot of people going past them? Because that's the goal, is to get people to look at them. That's why the whole government center thing got brought up, is because there's a lot of people coming and going.
I think anybody that's a local here automatically understands the importance of government center being a high traffic area. I mean, it's a no-brainer. But I actually wanted to address the issue about the underage kids wanting to go out. I had also done some research on that prior to that question, and when I tried to address it, they didn't let me get up to the mic. It was kind of strange. Actually, there is a curfew, but if the child is engaged in political speech, the curfew does not apply. So I mean, this is something these people should know, and already they've been involved with other movements for years and years and years, and they're hardcore activists. These are things you should know already to tell people. I mean, it's just like if you fix cars forever, you should know what a carburetor is, which I don't. But
fair enough. What would
that omission?
What would you suggest? Would you suggest maybe printing up flyers with this kind of information? Maybe, get a flyer printed up with all the legal, people's legal rights, like if, county property, this is what's going on, blah, blah, blah,
sure.
Versus city property, the whole thing with the underage kids, whether they can be out there at 17 or, because of political protest, but all that. That stuff's important, so you can hand that out.
Political speech, and that's the important thing here. Like, we have to make a distinction between assembly / parade / protest and demonstration. Those are not words you want to convey to police officers. You want to say you're engaged in political speech, which is protected by the First Amendment of the Constitution, which I was reassured today by the county lawyer. I mean, so these are things that people should know. I mean, if you're gonna get out there and because it got to the name first.
You're back.
You know what I'm saying? Because
you cut out for a second. Go. No, that's all right. Go. I agree that people do need to know what's going on, and by now it should be known. With all the committees they have, this stuff should. If you guys don't have it, put it on a pamphlet. Print out 1,000 of them. A lot of times, if you go to these copy places, they give you bulk discounts and stuff.
They had a 4-hour meeting today, and 15 minutes towards the end, they came up with like one decision on how to go about making decisions. That's where people like Carlos Miller, the guy that wrote the article, and Local 10 did kind of their piece wasn't very good on the Occupy movement, and then Luther wrote an article in Miami New Times. So that's where the bureaucratic bog down gets again. So maybe that personal egos.
Well, okay, but that's cool. Put those aside though. If that's welcome back. All right, Alex,
yeah.
we went to break again. Even 2 hours is never enough time sometimes. We got a half hour left here. I wanna make sure we get out the info that you found out about the the county buildings or county area or land versus city property, and where it might be, theoretically, it should be a little safer for the protesters to protest. Now, you also mentioned, you did mention Government Center, but you also mentioned that near Government Center there's internet access or something like that as well?
Well, okay. You get Wi-Fi that leaks over from across the street at the public library. And also, the library itself has computers open to the public. So, I mean, there's things you can do throughout the day. Maybe if you're getting a little bored or not bored, but, like tired. Because people have to stay. I believe people should stay entertained while they're out there. They're going to be out there. I mean, supposedly, if it's real, occupied for like hours on end. So there's a library across the street. There's public bathrooms in government center. You got the Wi-Fi that, if you find a hotspot that's got good reception, you got that. Metro rail service, you can park and come in the rail, go home on the rail. I mean, it's an ideal place. Moreover, now this is, I don't know the ins and outs of this part, but moreover, a few blocks away, you have a lot of lots that are empty, that are already occupied at night by transient workers. So should they, I don't think it would happen, but should they come and say, you got to go after a while? I mean, I don't control the cops, or Destiny. They might just show up and say, hey, you have no rights, get out of here. But I don't think they will. In the event that they did, you could regroup a block away where other people are already sleeping on a sidewalk.
Well, there's nothing, nothing, by the way, you could do to stop them from doing that. I mean, and your rights, you could say, yeah. But as soon as you try to resist them, that's against the law. They beat you up and they arrest you.
Well, I mean, I think people should be educated on how not to contract with them.
Well, see, that's why I was trying to explain people about their rights and stuff. But unfortunately, I'm not picking on people, but unfortunately, people are so ignorant of their own human rights and their own the rights that are not granted but protected by the
power of the individual. They don't understand it, and the people that do understand it, they demonize it for some reason. I don't know what.
Well, it's done. There's multiple reasons it's done for, but I mean, most of the police officers don't even know half the laws that they're told to enforce. See, that's why it's important as a protester or as an organizer, you have to make sure that you educate people about their rights. And I don't mean giving them some ACLU pamphlet, because no offense to the ACLU, but you guys are about as useful as tits on a bull, because the government just ignores them, and the government makes fun of them. Okay, I'm not picking on the ACLU, but the government really they do some good things, but they also they do other asinine things as well. So
coerce freedoms, in my opinion.
Well, they get used. They get used for both sides. I mean, and usually when you try to use them against the powers that be, you end up getting screwed. And it's not. I'm not saying that people that are all the people that are involved with it are bad, but you only need one or two bad people at the top for things to get steered in a bad direction.
It's the right policy, yeah.
Exactly. Well, that's the same thing with anything. Protests, anything. You just need somebody to be – you don't need everybody to be bad. You just need one or two people making bad decisions or whatever, and there you go. But I don't want to see people get in arguments with cops and not know their rights, because then the cop is just going to be, well, I'm a cop, I can do whatever. Usually when people know their rights and they confront a police officer, a lot of times if the cop knows what he's, and you speak to the cop in law speak, a lot of times they understand you. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes you get a cop that doesn't even know the local laws that they're supposed to be enforcing. I've seen that as well.
A little hint, if they tell you, are you a lawyer or something, or you have a bad attitude, or you're a smart guy, you've got them cornered. That's basically their way of telling you, like, you've stumped me. It's happened to me on the side of the road and on the way to Atlanta a few times, dude. And I haven't presented any ID, because I'm traveling and I wasn't driving. But I mean, like, when you hear things like that from a cop, I'm telling this to people that are going to be out there. Just know that you've got them cornered and they have nothing else than to,
and make sure you have somebody recording it. Always, trying to, if you're protesting and a cop comes up, say you guys are standing in a group or whatever, and this goes out to anybody, any protest. This is just stuff I've learned over the years. If you're standing at a protest and everybody's protesting, rah, rah, whatever, and the cops come up and start arresting people, the cameras need to flock there. Because then one or two of the cameramen is going to get beat up and taken away. And people need to get that caught on video too. The things that keep them in line and keep them accountable are the videos. For people that don't know, you can go buy sunglasses with video cameras in them. Okay?
Can I mention I will have a live stream on the Ustream Occupy Together channel. So I have an account, so that's going to be going out to the rest of the Occupy movements. When I was talking...
where you're going to be live stream? Where are you going down the government center? Are you going down to where will you be protesting?
I'll be all over the place.
Okay, so wherever you are, you'll be streaming live from there, live video?
Yeah. I mean, like, I first approached this as like a movement of all types of people coming together to show and really put on blast the powers that be, the Federal Reserve, the people that are robbing, blah, blah, blah. We've heard it before.
Okay.
So I'm not going to necessarily be at one location like, trying to diss them or trying to get my location to be occupied. I'm just going to be all over the place checking it out. If it comes down to occupation, yeah, I think we will be a government center. Be there all night. I have some people that have already committed to it. So, I mean, we have a clear goal. We're going to occupy government center, and that's basically eventually. You know, I don't think there's too many people now, but there will be.
Well, I mean, the Occupy Wall Street movement started with 14 people, and now look at it. So it's all over the place, dude. It's the
little Facebook page that could, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The little Facebook page that could. And, you know, I think it's good. That's why I think right now people need to hop on it and take advantage of this. Because, look, the mainstream media is only going to shed their little light on it for so long. And then after that, it's just going to be alternative media. Now, yes, we are, as the alternative media, kicking the mainstream media's collective asses. That's all well and good. But, you know, if you want to get to the people that need to be awoken, sometimes it's good to use their coverage against them, which right now is happening because, they had to cover it because we were covering it, and we made them look like asses. And now they're covering it, and they're putting their own little spin on it, and they're trying to see. A lot of this I see as people. Some decisions I see in different Occupy groups and things going on are not even decisions being made on a co-opted level. It's a decision being made because somebody is going off Shinfo, you know, because they're trying to defeat. They're trying to stop. Like I know the media group in Occupy Miami. They were trying to figure out a way to combat the mainstream media. There's no way. You know, I sat and I tried to figure out a way too. If there was a way to do it, you're not going to be able to do it. You're better off letting them show their hand and showing how bad they really are at it and how their lack of coverage and their spin on it. I would record as much video as I could, you know, and then I've done this at our protest when we've organized protests where I took as much video as I could, and then I went and found the news media footage that, you know, that they aired, because I would see them there, and then I would show what they aired and I would compare it to what you have live video feed on the ground. And what you end up doing is you end up showing the mainstream with just home video and their lies, you end up exposing them. And so they do their job for you. Now, we're only going to have that kind of ability for a certain period of time because the mainstream media is only focusing on it. I guarantee you now that Bloomberg said that they can stay in New York for as long as they want, what they're going to do is they're going to wait it out. They're going to say, well, they won't stay there forever. And they might be right. Who knows? Harsh winter weather could set in. Let's see what happens when, you know, they're going into winter up there. Let's see what happens when 3 feet of snow comes in, when a nor'easter comes in and they say, hey, you know, we're declaring a state of emergency. You got protests shut down. Goodbye, leave. There goes Occupy Wall Street. I mean, a simple massive snowstorm, a nor'easter could stop it.
It doesn't snow in Miami, though.
Well, no. This is up north.
No. I'm just saying,
the same thing could happen here.
People could be occupying still.
Well, yeah. Down here in Miami, people are crazy. There could be a hurricane coming, and they'd probably be throwing a party out on the sidewalk. I mean, you know, that is Miami. But down here, the same thing. It's going to rain. So I think it would be good to maybe have a spot that there is some overhead.
Government Center has overhead all over the place, and it has like a whole array of benches with little trees.
Okay,
it's very nice. You know, it's nice. It's a nice spot. It's very accommodating to people. I just don't. I mean, that's what we believe, and that's why you put the page out, and hopefully more traction will be gained before Saturday.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that are going to show up and occupy regardless. So hang on, we're going to break. We'll be right back.
Child that's slowly dying. Have you looked inside to see all that you can see?
We are back for the final segment. Winston, I haven't heard much from you in the second hour. That's kind of my fault. What do you think would be? You've been protesting. I know you've been an activist down here for years. What would be a couple tips you could give to the people that are listening, that, you know, some words of wisdom that they could walk away with from today's show, you know, for future protests that they partake in? What could you tell them to look out for, things like that?
For the most part, don't be taken in by any leaderships that leaders that might jump up and proclaim themselves to be leaders. This is a decentralized movement, and you examine what the issues that are most important to you. And since we were talking earlier, talking about interacting with law enforcement and stuff, when you're actually on the ground and protesting. Probably, just to reiterate what you're saying, the most valuable information weapon that one can have is a camera, and especially if it has live streaming internet to it, just in case of any outlandish behavior from law enforcement.
And do you think there's any hope of, like I said earlier, do you think there's any hope of everybody, with what you've heard tonight? Do you think that there is childish behavior? What do you think? Is there any hope?
Yeah, it sounds like the ideologies are too disparate. The ideologies are too disparate for any for any real cohesive success to come about it. But what it should be taken for what it is, which is it seems to be the beginnings of a large awakening amongst a bunch of different types of people with different ideologies. And it's just a matter of going to where the crowds are and bringing as much truthful information to them as possible in the forms of DVDs, websites, flyers, and that type of stuff. Things that people can actually take home with them when they're done protesting.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing is info, And I like, again, any protest organizers anywhere, I think it's a good idea to find out your local area, county versus city laws and ordinances and stuff and learn so you can at least, if you know their game, you can play their game. But you have to know your rights and you have to know the game that they're going to play. You have to understand that the Law Society is a completely different thing than, what you think it is. And that's one, I guess that's one of the biggest problems is there's so many people out there that have... They know something's wrong, they have questions, but they don't know. And these are the basic things that they should be taught. And I worry that there's too many people that are going to get pissed off and walk away, by either what they see on the mainstream media pushing the, they're all socialist, blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, they only interview the socialist. Or if you get one organ, because remember, every Occupy group isn't all the same, the same people. You could have one, like the one in Syracuse was predominantly made up with union people, the SEIU people, that's who I couldn't remember the name before, and Acorn. And they were running around causing problems. And like I said, they took a Ron Paul sign out of a guy's hand. JJ talked about this on his Sunday show. So obviously that one is filled with more lefties. I think you're right. If you try to go, a lot of times if you try to go and once you're on dealing with the radical ones of either side, left or right, you're not. I sometimes I think that their ideology is just too far ingrained into them for some people to even listen. I mean, remember what we used to go through back when Bush was president, and we would deal with the neocons down here. All the liberals and everybody all the lefties were out there with the anti-war posters. Yeah, down with Bush, and you had to deal with the same thing from the neocons and the hard right wingers that people buy into that ideology. They believe these myths, and you're going to have to deal with that kind of stuff. I hope that this Occupy movement doesn't get hijacked. I hope people just say screw it and just go out and occupy, man. I mean, do your own thing. Why do you need to be part of a larger group? First of all, you don't have to be part of Occupy Miami. You don't have to be. And what is Occupy Miami? What is it? What is Alex started Mobilize Miami. What is that? That's nothing. It's just a page telling you where, other people are going to be protesting at, basically. Mm-hmm. It's not a group. There is no organization. It's just a page. So go. If you're mad, you want to protest. Just Just show up and occupy. A 2-hour protest on Saturday down here. I don't know if it's going to work. Well, it's just protesting by the torch is kind of pointless. I've done it. I've protested downtown. That's why I speak from experience. It's not that I'm making fun of it. I learned from my own mistakes. Protesting anywhere right there around Biscayne Boulevard sucks because there's no place for people to pull over and stop and come and engage you in conversation. If they have to park there's two places to park. Usually on Saturday, those middle spaces are filled up anyway, and most of those are, a lot of times they charge $10 or whatever for the whole day. And if you park in Bayside, it's $10 or $20. So it's going to kind of suck. The whole point is to draw attention and get more and more people to show up.
And see.
So I personally, I think people, if you want to occupy, just show up. And don't be rude to other people. Don't be mean. Don't be nasty. Don't start fights. If somebody starts a fight with you, videotape it and understand logical fallacy. Educate yourself between now and then in logical fallacy, so you can understand what an ad hominem attack is or a red herring fallacy. Okay. As I said earlier, in the first hour, I was like, no, ad hominem attacks show you have no argument. So if someone's just calling you names or this or that or other thing, that's, educate yourself so you'll know. You don't want to get trapped into that either. But I don't even think that's necessary. I think people that are doing that need to back off. I mean, you don't own anything. You don't own protesting in Miami. There's plenty of people that were out here doing it way longer than other people. So, protests have been going on down here for over 30 years. So, I mean, that nobody owns anything. Anybody, if I guess my message to the people that, emailed me and asked me to cover this tonight and talk about the local stuff that's going on, because they've listened to my show and some of them were like, hey, you offered on Sunday, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's why I put this together, because the people I spoke to didn't want to come on. Winston agreed to come on. You agreed to come on. And you guys, again, I don't think that you're a group, Alex. I just think you're a guy that's just, put a Facebook page up and letting people know that if you want to go out and literally occupy or protest, this is the page to go to for the information, blah, 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 blah. I don't think anybody owns the right to protest down here. I mean, that's my personal opinion. What do you think?
I agree with you. And my page is just a suggestion. That's all it is. What I found lack of was solution at their meetings. Like, where we're going to go, we have to figure out how we're going to decide how long people meet and where are we going to go? So, I mean, that's all I am presenting is an answer to that, or a choice amongst many.
And again, you're not the only one saying it. The local media down here is saying it. They've done pieces on, they're not getting off the ground. Carlos Miller, local reporter, did a piece and exposed how and he's the one again that came up with the bureaucratic nightmare. It may be that maybe bureaucratic nightmare isn't the right terminology. It's bureaucratic mess or something like that, whatever, or quagmire. The point is, I don't want people to get. I see a lot of people getting angry. I covered this because I had so many emails. So I guess to the people that emailed me and stuff, I would just tell you, if you want to show up, show up. I mean, I urge you guys to go out and bring material, though. Don't just show up and stand there. I mean, make signs, but bring flyers. Flyers and DVDs are possibly the best. If you got a DVD for me, there's no copyright protection on it. Burn hundreds of copies. That's why I gave them to you guys. Okay? I gave them to you so you'd have the info, and then you could have screenings, you could burn them and hand them out. That's probably the most important thing, because if you give them the information so they understand what's going on, then they can go, look, there's so much to it. You're not going to cover it with one documentary, but you could at least cover the basics and get an idea, and then they give you the documentaries, at least that I give out. You always have stuff sourced in them, and you can go do further stuff. You can go look it up. It's important for people to get this. And when I see, when I see things not, going in a bad direction, when I see a train going off a cliff, and the people on the train are telling me, hey, can you say something? Because I don't think the conductor's paying attention. It's my duty to say something. You can get mad at me. You can call me names all you want. I'm a radio show host, and I dedicated today's show to giving the voice to the local people that, again, I said on Sunday, go listen to my Sunday archive. I said, if you didn't get a chance to speak, or, you feel your voice wasn't heard, or your local activist, email me. And none of you email anybody with a dissenting opinion against what I was talking about. Nobody said anything. The only emails I ever got were from people that, again, they felt dejected. So if you guys can't handle that, well, that's not my problem. That's yours. Trust me. I'll be able to sleep fine tonight, okay? I'm just trying to point out what other residents have brought to my attention as a radio show host. because I cover international politics and local stuff. And because I agreed on Sunday that I figured I would, give my Wednesday show up from talking about the New World Order or JFK or 9/11 or anything else I normally cover to this, which I effectively did. Okay. And I didn't start any fights. Again, the ones that started the fights were the people that came in and said this, that, the other thing. I gave Alex room to talk because he wasn't getting it anywhere else. So, I gave him a platform. And I gave Winston a platform to speak his mind as well. So, you know what? At the end of the day, I can't make everybody happy. Tough titty. I'm just talking the truth. There's nothing else I can do. Alex, thanks for coming on. Go check out his page, Mobilize Miami. Everybody show up. Bring some DVDs, flyers, bullhorns, signs.
Mobilize.
Yeah, mobilize. Get out there. Give out DVDs. Give out information. Give out truth.